Hello, everybody, and welcome to our brief little presentation of all about outreach at FTC. We are FTC Team 1046 for the Bionic Tigers, and I am Jonas Scarda, the team lead for this year. So just a little brief intro to outreach. So outreach is obviously really integral to winning upper level awards. So effectively creating, maintaining, and documenting all of your outreach programs is really key to achieving a really constant and consistent high level of award placement in competitions, because the outreach awards are some of the highest awards that you can win. So obviously having outreach programs is really key to winning those. But some important things to remember: outreach is a lot more about spreading first in your team than doing volunteer work. So you don't want to just be dedicated to be like, oh, we built a trail for 2 hours and that's our outreach. No, you want to be dedicated to spreading some of the first ideals. Quality is also 100% more important than quantity, because you could do 100,000 hours of you going to the library and sorting books, even though that's not really good outreach event because you're not spreading first, versus that would not be very important because you're not really doing anything. So you want quality events. So maybe you talk to the president. If you only did that once, that's more important than those million times you sorted books. Also, continuous events are more important than a one-time event. In most cases, there's obvious exceptions to everything, but building relationships and creating these consistent events is going to be really impactful, and it's going to look really good in awards as well. And also, whole team participation is crucial. If you have a 15-person team and you have 2 people going to every single outreach event, then you're not really doing outreach as a team. You have 2 people doing your team outreach. So you want to make sure that everything is done as a team, like all other activities.
So when it comes to the awards, there's a couple of outreach awards, one including the Motivate Award, which is it's also called the Community Outreach Award. And then there's and overall it's about, participating in outreach events centered around the community and FTC, really reaching out and spreading STEM and showing others about FIRST and building team spirit. Events that fit this category would be kind of like our rookie workshops, where we teach rookie teams about outreach, how to build a robot, how to build brand, that sort of thing. We've done community events like the farmers market, library visits, the Dayton Air Show, in-person things. It's important to spread the ideals of FIRST and get younger generations interested in programming and STEM and things.
Another one of the outreach awards is the Connect Award. And so this is not really on the Motivating Award. You can kind of figure them out because what they're called. This is about connecting with companies and professionals. And it's more also about learning from them as much as you're teaching them about your team, versus Motivate's really you're teaching the community about something. Connect is more about you're learning something. It's like, at least that's how I like to think about it. And so some of the events that fit in this category is if you're going on tours of factories, facilities, business tours, those all are Connect. If you're listening to presentations, that's Connect. Utilizing company resources to improve your robot. So if you work with a makerspace to cut parts for your robot, that's Connect. So it's also really important because you're teaching professionals about FIRST, which can lead to sponsorships and mentorships, which is huge, especially if you're a rookie team with hard time finding funding. Connect outreach events are going to be huge for you. So financial support and also learning about potential solutions that can help you with some of your problems have helped us in the past as well. So those Connect awards are huge.
So one big thing about outreach events is obviously you have to create them first so that you can actually go to them. So you want to create new and unique outreach ideas for your events, and it's one of the most challenging parts about the outreach process. But there's some important things to consider when you're deciding on different ideas for potential outreach events. So first one is it unique? So obviously not every event needs to be 100% unique, but you want to try to develop a certain event that's unique to your team, Obviously, if there's some bigger things like Dayton Air Show, you can go to that. Like, even though that's not like unique in any way, it's still like a good outreach event to do. You want to make sure that you think about how many people the event reaches, but you don't want to make that the sole focus of your event. You don't want to reach like 1,000 people, for example, if it's not the greatest event. But if you can reach like 30 or so, and you're really pushing for like motivate, or you're like connecting with professionals, then that's gonna have a lot more mileage than if you only focus on the numbers instead of what you're actually giving to the community or getting from the community. And so you want to know what the goal of the event is. So you want to go into the event knowing what you want to get out of it. If you want to spread FIRST and FTC through the community, if you want to obtain sponsors, if you want to learn from professionals. So before you make an event, you obviously want to know what you're trying to gain out of that event. So then you can ask, if you're trying to learn from professionals, you can ask more and better questions. If you're trying to obtain sponsors, you can try to like connect with them and build relationships and stuff like that. So for maintaining events and connections, it's vital for continuing the development of your outreach program to help strengthen relationships within the community and to also help build and maintain relationships with the sponsors. So obviously you could do outreach events, but if you consistently do the same outreach events, either like year after year or like every few months or so, then that really helps build a connection, and it can help with obviously relationships and sponsors. So you want to send out a newsletter to sponsors to stay in connection with them. So, you know, every few months, you don't want to send one like every week or like every day, because that's too much, but every few months to like kind of get them up to speed on like what you're doing. And then obviously if you win state or something, then you can send a letter out announcing like that victory. You want to try to come up with a schedule for repeating outreach events. So like if you can have if you have a rookie workshop, for example, or something, and you're like every second like Saturday of every other month, like we do this workshop, so then people can know like in advance exactly when they can go to that outreach event. If you can come up with a schedule for things like that, then it really helps build that repeatedness and helps build those relationships. And you want to write down a set curriculum and continuously build on it so that events don't lose value over time, they gain value. So instead of doing an outreach event one time and then like 4 years later you do it again, that's not going to be very valuable. But if you do the outreach event like every year or like every half a year or whatever, then it'll become a lot more valuable if it's more consistent.
Another huge part, probably the most important part other than actually doing the outreach, is documenting the outreach, because a lot of the awards like Connect and Motivate and Inspire literally require documentation, which you can read into the awards, specifically what they want on what you did. And some tips for documenting outreach. You want to create an entry for every single event that you've done. So if we go into our notebook, we would see every single event we did, photos of the event, dates, stuff, all this fun info for every event, and which is a lot of events. It's a lot of write-ups. You also want to highlight big numbers and key phrases, so you can see on the right. Some numbers are really highlighted, like especially the big ones. They just jump out on you, like number of Girl Scouts, 685 plus, badges awarded, over 2,000. Things like that, you want to really highlight. And it's like a couple ways to do that. One, you can bold it and just make it bigger. Or two, on the right, you can kind of see how we have highlighted some words in orange stuff. If you just quickly skim, you can see 3 and 9 FLL Girl Scout teams. So they're just quick things that pop out that you'll be able to easily implement in your documentation to help outstand and make your documentation better. Except I don't recommend doing this for every single outreach event. Only do it for like your major ones, like what you want to be known as for a team. Entries should also be focused on like impactful stories, key takeaways, and important key details versus just a chronological summary. So you don't want to be like, we arrived at 5 o'clock. It took us 5 minutes to unpack. And then for the next 2 hours, I spent time plugging in batteries and handing controllers. No, you want to like think about something, because something always happens. Like, oh, we met this one person who was told their life story and how impactful robotics have been. And then we got to share our life story with them. And then we connected about a potential sponsorship, stuff like that. That's perfect to put in the notebook, stuff like that. And you also want to, outside of the engineering notebook, keep just a running spreadsheet of everything you've done and key stats around them, like how many hours was it, who on your team was there, what day was it, how many people were there, stuff like that, because it will help you later when you're trying to add competitions. Be like, how many outreach hours did we do? Well, you can just pull up the spreadsheet, add up the column. It makes life 100 times easier. So I recommend doing that. And then just some closing advice. You want to balance outreach for the different types of awards. So you don't want to label outreach hours with the award type, like on our right. We label those just to show you kind of our breakdown, although that's not what we call them in the notebook. Absolutely do not be like, we did this Inspire outreach, we did this Connect outreach. You want to be like, oh, we did this event where we inspired the community or like motivated the community. Don't just flat out say them. But as you can see, we are really balanced. So you don't want to be like a team that has 90% motivate outreach and 10% the other times. You want to be really well, like 30, 30, 30. You also want to create easy visuals for pit boards and notebook pages. Like this graphic on the right is perfect because you can quickly look at it and get a nice glimpse of, oh, this is a well-rounded team that has done a lot of outreach hours. And it kind of provokes questions as well. And then finally, you want to build a web of contacts through your Motivate outreach events that often create new Connect events. So at Motivate events, like our 4th of July events, people will come up to us and then they're interested in how they can help us or how we can help them. So that creates new events that way. So creating Motivate events is often easier than creating Connect events, but Connect events will come out of Motivate events. Thank you all so much for listening. If you have any questions at all, feel free to DM us on Twitter or Instagram. It's at Bionic Tigers FTC, or send us an email. We'd love to help you. We would love to either just answer any quick questions you have, or if you really want, we can help set up a Zoom call sometime. We can answer questions about outreach or any of these questions you see here, like robot programming, fundraising, anything like that. We'd love to help you all, and hopefully we see you at competition sometime.